It's Richard Petty by a foot. Petty wins his 200th career NASCAR victory.
That is what it sounded like back in 1984, the 200th win for Richard Petty. And you know, the Petty family name and the town of Level Cross, North Carolina, they go hand in hand. And, well, the Richard Petty Museum is moving back to Level Cross, North Carolina, back to the Homestead, the site where many of those winning cars and championship runs were raced from, and the site where Richard Petty and the team worked on those race cars. Overseeing the project was Rebecca Moffitt. She is with the Petty Family Foundation and the lead person in moving this museum here. And first off, Rebecca, this piece of property, this ground, how significant is it to have the museum here on this property?
Well, it's very significant considering that this is family property and it's a family business, and this is where we started. And you know, all of us still call it home, even if we're not building race cars out of here. We're, you know, at least displaying them and building, you know, custom-built hot rods with Petty's Garage and restoration. So,
really cool it is what all happens here. When fans want to know what they're going to see here at the Petty Museum, what do you tell them? How do you describe what has been put together here?
I describe it mainly as from the past, from the beginnings, all the way up to 2014 with Petty's Garage and what we're doing there. So you can come and you can see, you know, my grandfather's cars, all the way to the cars that my father won with in the 60s and 70s. We have some of Kyle's cars, some of Adam's cars, all the way up to, you know, what we're building today, which is, you know, the still a stock car, but we're, you know, modifying it, making it, you know, a hot rod. So
really cool stuff. Is there a certain area that's maybe a little bit more near and dear to your heart, or is this whole place just something that's captured your spirit?
Well, the whole place means a lot to my whole family, but I'll tell you the artifact in here that means a lot is the car behind me that is Mrs. the King, and that is the original Mrs. the King. When they were doing the movie Cars, my mother and my father both would fly out to Pixar, and John Leaster really took up with my mother, and so he said, I'm going to write you in. He said, I'm going to write you a part in. He said, if you could be any car, what would you be? And she chose to be that station wagon because that was actually a family vehicle that we used back in the day to get back and forth through the track. So that's actually what the car is based on.
Wow, that is really neat. As a father, the Cars movie was very special to me as well with my daughters and everything. When we look at this, I think a question that I have is, how do you move a museum? Because this was in Randleman for the last 10 or 12 years. As the race team grew, room was needed here for the race team, and then as the race team moved, the room was here. How do you move a museum?
It's a lot of volunteers, a lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of backache.
I'm sure. We're chatting with Rebecca Moffitt. She is the daughter of Richard and Linda Petty. And Rebecca, just talking about you personally a little bit, what was it like being a Petty? What is it like being a Petty?
That is the number one question. The second time I've been asked that today, and you guys probably have heard my brother say this, we have nothing to compare it to. You know, if we're riding the school bus, you know, every other kid on the street got off at a farm or, you know, whatever, and we just happened to get off at a race shop, and this is where we grew up. So there's really nothing that we can compare it to.
Was there a time growing up where you came to realize that what your dad did was probably a little different than what other fathers did?
I think the time that I really realized it, I was probably between 10 and 12, and I took a friend from the same area that went to school with me, grew up with me, spent the night at my house. I spent the night at her house. I took her to Daytona. And when she realized was all of a sudden when I realized, because it was normal for me to go on the weekends and, you know, people ask for autographs or people come up to the car or people, you know, yell at him and everything. But she had been in Randleman or Level Cross. She had never, you know, we go to church together, we go to school together, you know, she never saw it outside of the Randolph County border.
Your father, so many great memories for all NASCAR fans. The Daytona 500 victories, the 200th win, we heard that at the top of this segment. Is there a special moment from your dad's career, whether you were there or whether there was a celebration when you got back home? Is there some special moment that you remember from your dad's career as his daughter?
You know, I remember going to Victory Lane. It was a lot of fun. It was always fun when they would do the champagne and, you know, a party afterwards or whatever. But they were all special, and even if we didn't travel with him, we would have like a little celebration at home. Like me and my sisters, we might decorate the house or bake a cake or, you know, something to celebrate the victory even after he got home.
What was his reaction to the candles, the cake? What was his reaction when he got home?
He started expecting it, and my oldest sister, I have to tell you that she's the cook, so she knew exactly what kind of cake that he wanted. So he expected that cake every time he walked in the door.
Well, Rebecca, congratulations on the grand opening of this beautiful museum, and thanks for sharing some time with us.
Thank you so much for coming and having us.
There we go. That's Rebecca Moffitt. She is the daughter of Richard and Linda Petty. More information on this is available at rpmuseum.com. Again, that's rpmuseum.com. Museum is open, so if you can catch it this week along the way, or with the races coming up at Martinsville and Charlotte over the next couple of months, this is a must-see for every NASCAR fan.